So I'll focus a little bit more in this segment on some Monkey King direct characters or Monkey King inspired characters that have stories with two sons in them. First, there's this character called Monkey, which is a play on or direct retelling of Journey to the West. And the story called Monkey, that's a Japanese live action show, I believe from the 70s or so. But there's this one episode on this show that stood out to me called The Land of Two Suns, further highlighting that this concept of two suns is often thought of with the Monkey King. And remember, with the monkey, the two heavenly bodies in the sky is a enlightenment kind of path. With the dragon, sometimes the second light in the sky will be of destruction, like a nuke or an asteroid. Sometimes you'll see two moons in dragon stories. But in this TV show, Monkey, the live action show, there's actually an episode called The Land of Two Suns, further proving that there's a connection between the Monkey King and the dragon and even the cat with this kind of concept of the second son. Another character that seems unlikely Monkey King influence, but is very much so I can go over with, is this character Aladdin, the Disney character, but also the traditional Eastern Indian story Aladdin. The character Aladdin is symbolic of being with a monkey. You often see the monkey on the shoulder. And remember, this monkey, the dragon, and the cat is always this trinity in these kind of stories where Princess Jasmine has the cat with her, the tiger, and then Jafar is kind of a play on both the dragon and the cat. I mean, the dragon and the serpent or the snake. But if you think Aladdin is not a play or a take on the same kind of concept, remember, I've been going over that these Monkey King characters will often be in the sky or encoded in a nice subtle way that they're walking on the clouds. Aang, the avatar is riding on a flying bison, which looks like a cloud. Then you have Skywalker, which is letting you know about the sky. Jesus walks on the clouds. The Monkey King walks on the clouds. Well, Aladdin is walking on flying carpet, right? So you kind of get the same kind of idea that he walks on the sky. He walks on the sky in this character. And remember, I told you all Monkey King characters are a play on Polaris or Pole Star. He doesn't carry a staff directly, but Jafar does. Jafar is a character who carries a staff. And then you have the genie, which I look at both Aladdin and the genie kind of being one of the same character. The genie being a play on like the Mercury, the Jean or Jen is another way of saying John. So you have encoded in that character's name is also John, the Mercury. And we see the same story as I've been outlining in the Bible. John the Baptist is the Monkey King character, the one that baptizes. Just think about like Simba gets baptized by the monkey. Simba is the golden character, the Leo, the Christ character. And then John the Baptist is the one that baptizes Jesus. He's the first thought of Messiah, like Aladdin. But in a lot of these kind of pole star characters, as we see in the Matrix, the female is the character who actually gets the torch passed to her later on, where Trinity is now just as important as Neo was. And it doesn't always have to be a female, but the lion or the cat character is truly the one that becomes the second Messiah usually. So in Aladdin's case, Princess Jasmine is just as important as Aladdin. They're in this circle where in some images, it almost looks like she's the female version of him and he's the male version of her. The same kind of thing with the Matrix. But she encodes the cat like Christ encodes the kit. Chris is another way of saying, or kit is a short way of saying Chris. And then John is always associated with the monkey in storytelling. And then the dragon is the villain or the opposite of them. And remember the pole star character, the male and female, the binary is a play on opposite ends of the pole. So you have, even in Princess Jasmine's name, the emphasis on gender, Jasmine. Not by coincidence. This goes on in all these stories. Sometimes it's just in a subtle way, but the actor's name or the character, there's always going to be this kind of play or emphasis on gender because it's the pole star Polaris. And before the reset or the catastrophe that results with all these characters, catastrophe has that language in there as well. There is going to be this kind of twisting and pulling and bending of gender where we're not sure if women can help or we're not sure if men can help, or this division of genders as we kind of see it going on in our real world today. But I wanted to highlight that Aladdin, he's a Monkey King character encoded in a nice, unique way. And there's an episode of an Indian show. I'm not sure which series. I forget. There's a couple live action series. And I did write it down and save a picture, but I misplaced it. I still have one of the pictures, but I misplaced the name of the episode and which actual series it is. But there's an Aladdin series where he goes to the desert and he addresses this kind of two sun concept. So even Aladdin, which is a retelling or an influenced Monkey King character story, has this kind of play on the pole star and gender, and then also this kind of play on the two suns in the sky, and this passing of the torch from male to female, the cat, the dragon, and even the genie kind of having that from the ice appearance, like the like Loki being a frost giant, or Mystique from X-Men, or the Avatar characters. These are characters that are pointing back to the north, and the genie kind of has that appearance and with the blue skin or the blue blood. And similar to this Princess Jasmine and Aladdin being inverses of each other, like a Neo and Trinity, where they both look like they are just the male and female version of each other by design. The Wonder Twins, right? The pair, the male and female, whether it be a couple or actual siblings like Luke and Leia, we have the same kind of similar concept, with some people thinking that Jasmine Guy is either related to or Prince in disguise. And if you suspect that in her name is the play on the gender, Jasmine and then Guy. And we see this in a lot of females who are of this kind of questionable scenario or archetype. There's a character named on Dancing of the Stars on this one of the recent, it might be the recent season, and I think she's getting a spinoff show on The Bachelor. And someone asked me, do you think this person is? And I said, I don't even know the person's name, but I guarantee you if it is what I suspect, their name is going to have this emphasis on gender on it. And surely it did. I forget their name offhand, but whoever like the person is on Dancing with the Stars that is questionable, that will now get a spinoff on The Bachelor, in their name is this emphasis on gender, just like a Gadot has the name in there. And, so these are just things to think about. But Princess Jasmine is the inverse version of Aladdin, because by design, the story is telling this same archetype of both of these characters being the one or the chosen one, the male or the female. Like John Connor passes the torch to the cat. John Connor, the golden monkey, passes the torch to Cat. Aang, the Avatar, the Monkey King, passes the torch to Katana. And even though Katara doesn't become the one, the next version of the Avatar, the female Avatar, is a kind of mirror image of Katara and Korra. And then the same thing with Liu Kang, the monkey, and the dragon, the monk, dates Katana. So this kind of pairing is always common theme of the monkey, the dragon, and the cat. And one of the stories they tell is this binary pair, male and female, that we see with Princess Jasmine and Aladdin, but also Neo and Trinity. So I wanted to highlight Princess Jasmine and Aladdin a little bit more. So when I'm looking at this picture here for Princess Jasmine and Aladdin, I've already outlined that they're binaries. They're one of the same. They could be thought of as the opposite end of each other. By design, their look, their face, if you just put the wig on Aladdin, he is Jasmine, and so forth. And I can keep demonstrating this in story after story, but I just wanted to show you this right here. Remember, at the heart of these stories is the monkey, the dragon, and the cat. When I saw this story, Rogue One, which is the Star Wars story, I immediately thought, this looks like Aladdin, right? And not by coincidence, the female who plays the main character in Rogue One is also the female who plays Princess Jasmine. Remember, I told you the monkey, the dragon, and the cat are at the heart of these stories. And Princess Jasmine has this association with the cat. I always say actors and actresses are chosen for roles. They're not really auditioning at the level we think, especially the cast, the big ticket actors. Well, not by coincidence, we have this female who plays Princess Jasmine and Jen Ursa being called, her real name is Felicity. I think Jones, I forget, but Felicity, as in the feline, as in Felix. So even in that character, the actor, the stage name is this encoding of that kind of magic where the monkey, the dragon, and the cat are at the heart of it. And in the story, she plays this character named Jen, which is a play on John, the female version of John. And then you have the character named who looks like Aladdin, named Cassian. And Cassian points back to Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is often associated with twins in some stories, right? And we have, for example, Professor Charles Xavier in X-Men. He has a twin named Cassandra Nova, where it comes from Cassiopeia. Some people think Puff the Magic Dragon, P. Diddy's girlfriend, is her name is Cassie, or his ex-girlfriend named Cassie is the twin of Zendaya. So you always see this hidden association of the twin with Cassie in different stories. And even in the upcoming Marvel films, or the recent Marvel films, you have Ant-Man's daughter named Cassie, right? Which is a play on Cassiopeia. And in the new Avengers, or the Young Avengers coming out, you have Miss Marvel, which is the Monkey King, and then you have Kate Bishop, which is the cat, and then you have Cassiopeia. So you have this constant dance of these North Star characters being played out on screen, but even as we see with Felicity Jones, I'm just going to say her last name is Jones because I don't remember offhand. Felicity Jones, who plays Princess Jasmine and Jyn Ursa, they all have this association with the North Star, Polaris. And in the story, her name is Jyn Ursa, which sounds like Ursa or Major. I think it's spelled Urso, E-R-S-O, but it's a nice subtle way of hiding it. And I'll go over in the Star Wars films how they all kind of have this hidden association with the North Star and the Monkey King aspect hidden even in that story. But in this movie, we're given, I forget the actor's name who plays the blind monk with the pole star in this story. He plays that same kind of role in the Highlander stories as well. He is, I forget his name, Donnie Yen. So Donnie Yen is the blind monk, right? There's a heavy focus on Asian actors and Indian actors in this film to kind of point back to the Aladdin undertone, or the spirit of Aladdin in this story. So I just thought it was interesting. And remember, I told you Aladdin has this play on the monkey. So throughout this story, Rogue One, you see a lot of points to monkeys. The monk, the giant robot that they walk around with is almost like the genie and the monk kind of combined. And Aladdin is with Abu. Even in the Dragon Ball stories, we have the Majin Buu. You think they might not be related, but if you look at Abu's hat and then you look at Majin Buu, they have the same symbol. So they are clearly all encoding the same kind of sky stories, or they're pointing back to the same myths, same folklores, which all always point back to sky stories. They're encoding the sky and nature. This is why they're shoehorned or shoved down your throat with so many renditions made over and over, because there's an important lesson about how this place works in these stories. So I just thought that was interesting that the Rogue One story has this kind of spirit of Aladdin hidden in it. And if you know the Rogue One story, at the end, the Aladdin-like character and then the female character, the Jasmine character, they both die together right in front of like an atomic bomb or an explosion, right? Kind of highlighting that the binary came back together and an explosion to two suns. And we don't see two suns in this Star Wars story, but that character archetype is a play on that binary sun, right? The male and the female in front of the exploding sun. And even in the other Star Wars films, you have this kind of binary as well, where you have Rey and Kylo having this dyad in the Force with the Y chromosome separating dad, right? So you have the dyad in the Force. And often in these stories, that'll have a lot of subtle different ways of showing this binary, not necessarily a binary star in the sky or a heavenly body or a solar body, but more so just symbolic ways of showing it. The recent Miss Marvel movie, or The Marvels, Kamala Khan is a Monkey King archetype, the female Monkey King. And at the end of that story, they introduce a character named Binary. So you don't actually see two suns in the sky, but it's encoded in a character who is a androgynous, questionable female who appears at the end of a Monkey King film. And that female, the actress even, has association with this passing of the torch, but also the monkey. And she appears next to Beast, which is the monkey. So they're double downing on this in a lot of different stories. And as we progress, I'm going to show you a lot of stories that have actual physical suns in the sky, symbolic suns in the sky, but how they always point to this archetype of the dragon, the cat, the monkey, and then this kind of great reset. So I just thought it was interesting to highlight Aladdin, because Aladdin's signature frame or encoded message is a whole new world. And I just think that's important to reinforce, because the binary, the coming together of man and woman, or two suns in the sky, is kind of how the reset always ends in stories. Whenever there's a catastrophe or disaster or end of the world scenario, at the end, the final shot, if you pay close attention, will be the man and woman embracing or coming back together. Because the man and woman is the reset on a macro and or micro level, where at the end of an age, you'll need to repopulate. But on a micro level, a man and woman can start a new family today. Just like, you have this concept of Cassiopeia being associated with Cassin. In the Aladdin story, there's a character named Cassim. And when they first introduced him, I think it's in one of the movies, he appears to be like a time traveler, like Aladdin from the future. It's almost thought of that he's from the future. And which is funny because the Aladdin series, there's many people who think that it's actually a dystopian future. The story of Aladdin is actually about the future. And you see this in spin-off stories. There's a movie called Aladdin 3477 the year. Well, you also can see the movie Rogue One being inspired by Aladdin, kind of being the same kind of play. Well, anyway, this character Cassim turns out to be Aladdin's father, but just wanted to highlight that even in the Aladdin story, you have the same kind of story going on with this Cassim, with this Cassiopeia, with this Cassian Andor in Star Wars. Another connection is the genie. I said earlier before, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different play on words that are used in stories to kind of hide the character. Like Han is short for Johannes. So I already know anytime I have a character named Han, it's a play on John. And John in the Bible is the first thought of Messiah. This is why January sounds like John, John, not by coincidence. Even in Korean, I think the way to say one is Hana. Han, the Han dynasty. So whenever you hear this Han, you should also be thinking about the one or the special. And think about where we are in 2024, where the torch is being passed from male to female, which is at the heart of these monkey stories. And we had these Hanuman statues popped up, these monkey statues, right? Letting you know that you should also still be looking for the game to show some kind of female leader pretty soon. So I just wanted to highlight that there's a play on language and saying different names. Like John could be said in French as Jean. The female version of John is Jen, Janine, and also another way of saying it. And John is always the first thought of Messiah. So you see parallels between January. You see parallels between John or Han, the Han dynasty. You see parallels between Genesis, John, Genesis. And Genesis is the first book of the Bible. So this John is always at the heart of the start or the first. So with that being said, the genies are playing on John as well. Genies are Jinn. Their way Jinn is spelled in folklore is D-J-I-N-N. And I think they are even in the Quran. But there's different versions of jinns. There's different levels of jinns. Some are mindless animals. Some are hybrid looking, half male, half looking animal. And then some are more spiritual or higher level, like the genie and Aladdin is a higher level jinn. And the highest level of jinn, I'm not sure if it's the highest level, but one of the highest levels, the type of jinn that we see in Star Wars is a John. And I'm not sure if it's spelled John. I think it's more Jann. But these are just different ways of saying the John. And remember, John the Aquarius, John the Baptist is associated with the bear. There's language in the Bible that points to John with the bear. And it's not directly talking about a bear, but it's a nice subtle way to hide. Think of the bear when talking about the John or John the Baptist. And then John is associated with the Aquarius. The Aquarius is the pouring of water. We see different versions of this where liquid metal, Mercury is also being shown associated with John. John Connor in the Terminators is associated with liquid metal. And you see the genies or the jinn in the form of the genies or the John versions kind of have this liquid or this polymorphic appearance in their body. Even though we're told they come from fire or smokeless fire, I kind of see a play on the Mercury or the liquid encoded in how the genie is portrayed as coming out of the lamp. So I just thought that was interesting. And this kind of play on jinn is often seen in Monkey King stories or Monkey King related items. Jinn are thought of as being other beings from another reality just here on Earth where they can manifest. Some interpretations are demon-like. I think there's a recent movie, A 3,000 Years Longing, right? And Idris Elba is playing a jinn, and he meets up with the actress who plays the Ancient One in the Doctor Strange films. The Ancient One is a play on the Monkey King character as well, and she has the two suns in her hands that she forms to fight. But 3,000 is a number that I often see associated with dragons. So whenever you see a story involving dragons, or if you ever see, 3,000 years ago, you should be automatically starting to think, oh, we're about to hear a dragon story. So 3,000 is a number you often will see associated with dragons. There's, in the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 game, the Monkey King's son is at the heart of it, but there's a character named Jen in there. This Jen concept is hidden in a lot of unique ways. In the Star Wars series, the same thing. Jen the genie are found in the desert, right? And we have Qui-Gon Jinn, not by coincidence. So I just wanted to point that, these stories are being retold over and over in a lot of different modern stories as well, but they point back to the same myths, and those myths and folklores all point back to the sky or some form of our spirituality, I would say.